Aeroplanes and bad weather can be a terrible mix. Just ask Patsy Cline or Buddy Holly or Manchester United Football Club. One of the UK's most famous and successful football teams was very nearly completely wiped out on the 8th of February 1958. After playing a European Cup match against the Yugoslavian team Red Star Belgrade, the club's chartered plane made a refuelling stop in snowbound Munich. The pilot, Captain James Thane, made 3 attempts to take off from the slush-covered runway, the last of which ended in tragedy as the plane failed to reach the correct altitude and crashed on top of an unoccupied house. 8 players died, along with 15 other passengers. The manager, Matt Busby, was so seriously injured he was twice read his last rites, but eventually he recovered enough to build a new team. But Captain Thane, originally blamed for the accident and not exonerated until 1968, died of a heart attack in 1975, aged only 53. At least 1,800 dead, $81.2 billion worth of damage, 233,000 square kilometers declared a federal disaster area. Around 3 million people left without electricity. Hurricane Katrina, which hit the Gulf Coast of the United States in August 2005, was one of the most devastating and certainly the costliest hurricane in US history. The storm first made landfall in South Florida on the 25th of August 2005. It was a Category 1 hurricane at the time and was the cause of 14 deaths in the state of Florida. By the 28th of August, Katrina had been upgraded to a Category 5 storm, and the mayor of New Orleans, Ray Nagin, ordered a mandatory evacuation of the city, but he was too late. The greatest devastation occurred in New Orleans the next day, where Katrina's storm surge caused 53 levee breaches, disastrous for a city built below sea level. The National Science Foundation was later to find that the levee system had serious design flaws and had been inadequately maintained. Approximately 80% of the city was flooded, and at least 700 bodies were plucked from the water. Around 26,000 people unable to evacuate the city took shelter in the Louisiana Superdome, which suffered substantial damage itself. It was also the site of mayhem and confusion as people struggled to access food, drink and facilities, and reports of violence and abuse began to circulate. 6 deaths were confirmed at the venue. The effects of this natural disaster were so widespread and so devastating that the emergency services were unable to cope. Much criticism was made of the response from local, state and federal government, which led to a United States Congress investigation. In particular, blame was placed on Mayor Nagin and Louisiana Governor Kathleen Blanco for not implementing a timely evacuation plan and being generally unprepared to provide those ordered to shelters with food, water, sanitation and security. The only bodies not to face criticism were the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service, which were both widely praised for both the accuracy and long lead times of their forecasts. The international response was strong, though, with countries like Kuwait and South Korea sending millions of dollars in aid. A sign of the city's recovery was the reopening of the Superdome in September 2006, when the city's football team, the New Orleans Saints, played the Atlanta Falcons. Before the match, rock superstars U2 and Green Day joined forces to serenade the crowd in the opening ceremonies. Prior to Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans was an extremely popular tourist destination, famous for its architecture, food, jazz music, and love of festivals. In particular, the annual Mardi Gras. Just over 5 months after Katrina, the 2006 parade went ahead with many references to the city's recent history, the costumes and floats making pointed allusions to such bodies as the Federal Emergency Management Agency, whose director, Michael Brown, resigned following the disaster. The parade was scaled down, but had a heightened intensity, as the citizens of New Orleans, many of whom had lost everything, celebrated the fact that they were still alive.
Three, two, one.